Good afternoon. As always, I'll start with a quick roundup on our last performance from last night. As I said after the game, I thought we had a clear path to engineering victory. Certainly, they had established a certain personality during their 4-game win streak. A major component of that was their run game, as I mentioned. They had averaged about 192 a game over the previous 5 games, and so certainly we had to minimize that. But it's just more than just stopping the run on specific downs per se. It's a collective approach, and I thought we did a nice job of minimizing that mode of producing victory for them, not only with the way that we played the run, but with the way we ran the ball offensively, the way we possessed the ball offensively. Us being aggressive on 4th down plays, particularly early on, was a strategic component of minimizing their run. Us getting off on 3rd down was a major component defensively of us minimizing their run. They weren't able to get a new set of downs very often and establish a rhythm that it produced to 192 per game. And certainly we thought if we could do that, we would position ourselves to maybe take the ball away. Had a big takeaway early on from Samuel, and certainly had other opportunities that didn't come to fruition throughout. We needed to take care of the football, and we certainly did that. It wasn't easy sledding there, particularly early, but as we found our rhythm and we were able to get some things going and produce some touchdowns. As the road gets narrow, you got to score touchdowns. Field goals don't necessarily get you out of stadiums, particularly as you're battling for playoff position and people are in the same mentality doing similar things. And so I thought our ability to score touchdowns in the red area was big, was a major component of it as well. Can't say enough about the many contributions that we got from people who had an opportunity and does. And so it's important that you fortify your depths with capable people. We've worked to do that during the course of our journey and to continue to get those guys ready because it's coming. And so it's just good to see some of that happen. We certainly will have some more challenges, man, as we lean in on this week regarding some of those things. Isaac Seumalo got hurt last night. I don't know what his status is as I stand here today, but I would imagine he's certainly going to be limited at the early portions of the week, and we'll see where it leads us. The same thing could be said for Herbick with his hamstring. We'll see where it leads us. We had some guys that missed the previous game or games and are angling toward getting back. Probably the most favorable of those is Derek Harmon. He was probably healthy enough to play at the very end of last week, but as a young guy with limited rep opportunities, I didn't think it would be fair to him or for us to put him in uniform. And so he'll have an opportunity to get a complete week's work, get an opportunity to go back to his hometown and play some football. Excited about getting him back. He certainly has been an asset to us, particularly in terms of defending and stopping the run and anticipating what we're going to face this week, man. That'll be big. Some other guys who are working their way back. Pete's still in the protocol, so we'll let the protocol be our guide in terms of his availability. James Pierre was limited with a calf last week. We'll see where that leads us. I got no new news on TJ. I'm sure I will a little later in the week, but I hadn't heard any new updates regarding his availability or what that looks like as he starts to work his way back to us this week. And so no real news there. I'm certain that we have a lot of bumps and bruises associated with play. That's the nature of this thing. We'll work hard and smart, and sometimes that means being inclusive. And so we probably got a high-intensity walkthrough on our menu tomorrow in an effort to have as many people participate as we can as opposed to running and practicing. But again, that's not outside the ordinary this time of year. You do what you need to do in an effort to get the collective ready and also get them to the stadium in as good a physical condition as you can get them as well. You certainly hope that there's a cumulative effect of the daily work that we've had over the course of this journey that could be an asset to us that we can summons up when we get pressed on a short week like this week. Now I'll give some time and attention to the Detroit Lions. Man, I just got a lot of respect for this group. and how they go about their business. They're a competitive group. They're a physical group in all three phases. They're aggressive not only in play but schematically. Got to tip my cap to Coach Campbell and company for that. You see their personality on tape. I'll start first on defense. They've certainly absorbed a lot of attrition in recent weeks, particularly in the secondary, first at corner and then more recently at safety. But they've also done some things in terms of acquiring talent to help fortify those depths, some NFL players, some veterans. Much like we went out and acquired Pep and Doug and others, Asante, that have helped us out. More recently, they've acquired KZ, a former Steeler, that I'm minimizing their rush. Starting first and foremost with Aidan. He is elite. He's a game in terms of ball aware, ball searching. His ability to produce fumbles and hunt the ball as he hunts the quarterback speaks for itself. He's got very good hand-eye coordination and fine motor skills for a big man. That was on display in his interception of that screen last week. But he's not a one-man gang. Muhammad is having a breakout year for him as a rushman. Davenport, obviously, is a former first-rounder in New Orleans Saints, is also a component of their collective. Very good care of the football. And it starts first with Goff. I think he's only thrown 5 interceptions on the season. And you couple that with his quick decision-making. They take pride in terms of winning the line of scrimmage and waging the war of attrition in the run game. And so we'll be challenged in a big way and having great days. It started for us early this morning or late last night, depending on your perspective as a staff. And it'll continue with the guys as they get into the building tomorrow in the effort to move forward towards Sunday. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Mike, you've mentioned at this time of year, games like this are why you were interested in bringing in Aaron Rodgers. He has said kind of much the same thing. Have you noticed anything palpable about him or anything detectable in these last couple of games? Any difference in how he prepares or plays or the look in his eye, anything like that?
No, nothing relative to his process or his prep process. But it's just value that you can measure, value that you can't measure in having a guy that's been there and done that. It benefits him. It benefits us as a collective. I think it raises the tide for the collective. It's just certain conversations and things that you don't even worry about. You know, we had a significant possession down late in that game, and he affords us an opportunity to run a misdirection pass, and you don't even have to tell him, hey, throw an incompletion or take a sack because we want the clock running. He knows that. He's lived that life. And so that's just one small example, but there's countless examples of benefits of having a guy with his level of experience, the quality of that experience, particularly this time of year as the road gets narrow.
After the game, Aaron was talking about some of the so-called cast-offs that made significant impacts for you. What have you learned over the years about what it takes to position midseason additions for success, and why has this specific group been able to make an impact quickly?
You know, I'm never surprised by that, to be honest with you. That's why we have cliches like the standard is the standard. One man's misfortune is another man's opportunity. It's not if, it's when as it pertains to injury in our business. And so if you're in a position like mine, you better work your tail off to ready each and every man that's a part of the program and have that urgency daily. And I certainly do, and we do as a staff. But those are the guys that are deserving of the credit. I'll never ask guys to be patient. I'll ask them to work while they wait. And a lot of guys have done that. And we get performances like many of them displayed. It's just evidence that they have. And certainly some of them are going to get additional opportunities to do so, and maybe some new guys are going to get opportunities to do so as we move forward. That's just the nature of this thing. I think your ability to adapt and adjust and pivot often defines as a collective, and certainly we've had some opportunities to do so and have had some success at times, and we better keep digging because I just been on enough of these journeys. I know it's a component of it.
When you guys signed Kenny G, did you envision him being a higher volume guy than he was in Philly?
Absolutely. You know, Saquon casts a pretty large shadow, but we played that football team, and Kenny made some significant plays in that game against us.
Coming out of the locker room in the third quarter, you've been good in both the third quarters against Baltimore in this past game. against Miami. What have you done better there, do you think? And what else did you do better in this game when it came to possessing the ball?
I don't know that you can pinpoint a specific thing that you do better. I know that you better just keep working. You don't always get the results that you desire immediately when you have an agenda. But if you believe in the agenda, you keep pounding away, and it might just be that result that we're finally breaking through in some areas that are producing the outcomes. But we might have been in the right neighborhood, knocking on the right doors for an extended period of time. I just think that's the challenge of decision-making and strategy in this business. Sometimes solutions come to you in an instant, and you see the fruit of that instantly. Sometimes your will and your commitment gets tested because you don't necessarily get what you're looking for immediately. We haven't done anything different, significantly different in the last 2 weeks in that area that we hadn't been working on, but certainly I agree with you. It's been moving in the right direction of late.
Like after the Bills game, Aaron kind of publicly challenged the pass catchers just to get on the same page, show up to things. The 2 weeks since, the offense has been clicking, the pass catchers' pass game has been a little bit more seamless. Is that a result of Aaron kind of challenging this group?
I don't know the challenge that you speak of, and so I wouldn't be the guy to speak to that. I'm sure you'll get an opportunity to speak to him in open locker room.
Mike, you mentioned the running backs earlier. It seems like Gibbs and Montgomery complement each other really well. What makes them so dynamic, and what do you think the keys are going to be to try to slow them down?
I think, first of all, they're talented as individuals. They're talented runners, both guys. They certainly have a different skill set. Gibbs having the top end speed that he does, and Montgomery having the pick and vision and interior running talents that he does. And so they complement each other very well, but it's almost disrespectful to not acknowledge their talents as individuals. And I think any tandem that's really good, I think, has a couple of individuals in it that can do it, and they certainly can and do. They need no endorsement from me. I think they, as a collective, they got 21 rushing touchdowns this year. And so we better come, and we better come ready.
You guys have used more 11 personnel the last two weeks on offense. Was that something that Aaron Rodgers suggested? And what have you guys seen come from that as far as success-wise to open things up?
Sometimes it's just based on matchup. What's the best matchup for us relative to opponents? The Dolphins, for example, don't have a lot of depth at corner. Minka plays corner or nickel for them. And so it was probably more advantageous for us to play in 3 wide receiver sets and get Minka out of a more natural position into a less natural position. And so there's a lot of variables into that discussion and from a strategic standpoint, and we answer those and formulate those plans week in and week out. And so they're subject to change.
You elevated MVS from the practice squad.
I'm sorry?
You elevated or signed MVS to the active roster. What have you kind of seen and learned about him over the last month or so that he's been in the building?
He certainly is a talented guy. He can run. For a taller guy, he can get in and out of break points, and he's got some NFL playmaking experience that's been an asset to us.
Has TJ been in the facility yet, and whether or not he can be cleared to practice? Do you expect him to be at practice this week?
I don't know if he's been in the facility yet because I've been in the dark room in the back. He might be in the facility as we speak, and so I don't have a lot of the answers to that, and I was just trying to be transparent when I said I didn't have any new information as I stood here today.
We have you in this setting as opposed to breathing down your neck after practice about this, but is there anything more you can tell us about what you learned about the dry needling technique or how that might continue or not continue with your team?
I have no new information regarding that, none whatsoever.
How's Jack Sawyer progressed, and if you need to lean on him in tough matchup against Penny Sewell, what would that be like?
Jack is doing what a lot of young quality defenders do. They make the best with what you ask them to do, and they work in all areas and get better. And usually those that are playmakers in special teams eventually become playmakers on defense. And he certainly has been that for us. He's made some plays on teams. He made some plays on teams last night. And so I'm never surprised when they transfer that playmaking to the defensive side when they get more opportunities to do so. He's had some opportunities this year and has made some plays, has had a sack, has had an interception. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he displays that readiness, if he gets an expanded role opportunity this week.
Do you have to alter how you prepare defensively when you face a coach that's as aggressive on 4th down as Campbell is?
No. Not really. we live it down in and down out. You don't get an opportunity to win fourth down until you win third down. And so that's the spirit in which we go about it.
Mike, is the tush push or Steeler shove, whatever you want to call it, with Connor become more reliable for you guys, and how does that kind of impact your situational decision making?
I think it's been reliable the whole time we've done it. Maybe we've only failed once in Chicago. It just speaks to the versatility that we have in the tight end room. We've talked a lot about it. We got a deep and diverse tight end group. Darnell is a point of attack run blocker. Jonnu is good run after. You saw that in a lot of ways. We threw him a screen. We pitched him a toss. Muth is a zone killer. You saw that last night. And Connor's a jack of all trades. He's a four-phase special teamer. He does things like that for us. And so I think that's just more of a reflective of the deep and diverse group that we have at that position.
Patrick Lee talked about the collective guys committing to their jobs and not trying to jump out and do other people's roles, and that trust that's been forming. How do you as a head coach try to set a stage to fix those kind of problems when at least a popcorn can come from any direction?
I think a component of it is continuity. And when you infuse new people in, you don't have a lot of continuity. Certainly over the last several weeks, we've established some continuity, particularly on the back end. For example, when we moved Jalen to free safety full time and acquired Doug and some of that stuff, that began the continuity. And to have that discussion without continuity is not very realistic. And so we certainly have gotten better, but you expect to as a leader, and you also expect it to continue.
Big part of the process to when you guys use more 11 personnel when you don't normally, or when you switch from using a lot of single high to double high safety looks earlier in the season.
You jumped the size of the ball there. One time you said 11, and then another time you said one high or two high.
Right, I'm saying on either side of the ball, is that continuity help when it comes to trying to make those switches in season when you guys try to establish an identity?
There's a lot of layers to that question. You're stressing me out there. I answered the 11 question. It's week to week, and a lot of it is based on the matchup component of the game, and I gave you an example of last night. Now, what was the defensive component of that question?
Like earlier in the year, we guys used a lot of single high safety to start the year. You switched to a lot more two high safety. I'm just talking about the continuity in helping.
That's very much week to week, based on who we're playing and what they specialize in and what's required for us to minimize certain components of their attack or people.
Does that apply to?
You haven't had a chance to really comb through the tape, but did Dylan Cook play well enough to maybe continue playing in that role even if Andres Pete is healthy?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. He certainly, I thought, did a nice job of representing himself last night. As I mentioned, though, we helped him schematically, but it is our job to do so. But he was a component of a successful winning outing, and so he deserves congratulations for that, and we'll see what this week holds.
What you were discussing with Chris there, is that the matchup angle that you were discussing? You guys were very good in the middle of the field last night. DK was talking about finding the soft spots in the cover two. Can you still do that against a team, like you said, with Detroit, who plays more man, and you might not have as clear of an idea of what they're doing in the secondary because of their attrition?
It's two totally separate discussions. Miami played a lot of shell. They rolled up their corners, and they played two high safeties a bunch. Detroit does a significant amount less than that. And so we'll do what we need to do to be successful and move the ball this week, and it may dictate that we do things differently.
When Pierre is cleared, does he automatically become your top outside?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Mike, was Hervig's hamstring, was that aggravation of what he dealt with earlier in the year?
I don't know, to be quite honest with you. We just played last night, and I hadn't had a chance to get a thorough update on some of the details regarding individual injuries and where they are and if they're brand new or re-aggravations of past injuries. I just know he has a hamstring.
Mike, what does it say about Ben Skorank's special teams value that you played a guy listed as a wide receiver on the depth chart with a cast on his hand?
He's a football player first. We've talked a lot about it. He's highly productive. He's a functional tackler. He's a big guy for the space that he plays in. It gives him a matchup advantage, particularly when he's in one-on-one circumstances. And so we're thankful that he's capable and willing, even in less than ideal circumstances. And let's see what he has for us this week.
They played every snap. A couple weeks ago, he hadn't played a game in 15 months, whatever. Were you watching that? Was that something to watch? And I guess he passed the test conditioning-wise and whatever.
To be honest with you, I wasn't even watching it. He's the type of guy that he's in shape 12 months a year. Most corners are. He displayed that in the short period of time that he's been here in practice settings in terms of taking guard defensive reps and taking defensive reps. And so it was a very little concern to me or to us in terms of his participation last night. And not only that, but he's been an every down player when he was in LA, and so it wasn't something that was the first time for him or something that was foreign to him.
What have you seen from Adam Thielen when he's not getting targeted, that he's provided value to the team outside of that?
Man, he's excited to be here. He's expressed that. He's a hand-in-the-pile guy. I thought he was very active in the run game last night, for example. You have a lot of ways to impact the game other than touching the football, and certainly his contributions have displayed that in a short period of time.
Anything else?
Aaron praised both him and MVS last week for their detailed work and the timing of getting things done. What does that do for an offense to set a tone for everyone else when you see veteran guys come in and inject that kind of detail?
I just think that's the benefit of veteran guys.
If Sam Alou can't play, does Spencer go right into guard, or does he keep his role doing what he does?
It's early in the process. We did an in-game adjustment last night where we brought Ryan McCullum in, and he did both with a full week to prepare. We may do similar things. We may take a different approach. But larger than that, more important than that, I'm not ready to rule out Isaac at this juncture.
All right.
Great. Thanks.